Welcome, everybody!
New York, on Saturday, July 16th. WWE returns to the world's most famous arena with WWE Live. Experience the hype with all your favorite superstars, including John Cena live.
You want some? Come get some!
It's the WWE Live SummerSlam Heatwave Tour in New York, Saturday, July 16th. Tickets and VIP packages are available.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans from around the corner and around the world, welcome to another installment of Wrestling Insiders. I'm Dan Marotti here at MWF Studios, just north of Boston in downtown Melrose, Massachusetts. Check out some cool offers we have at the end of this video to find out how you can do your part to support indie wrestling. If you haven't heard the news as of yet, on Friday, May the 7th, 2016, WWE released 8 talents from the active roster. I understand any company, especially a publicly traded one, has a duty to trim fat when needed, but I believe there's a lot more mileage the majority of these talents have to offer the industry, whether it be in NXT, TNA, Ring of Honor, overseas, independents. Let's run down the list, share some thoughts. Very interested to know what fans think on this one. To me, the biggest loss, Zeb Colter, wrestling great Dutch Mantel, ends his second WWE stint. As Uncle Zebekiah, he debuted in WWE back in 1994. He managed the Blue Brothers, that being Ron and Don Harris, the twins, and then later was the first manager in WWE of Justin Hawk Bradshaw, who that might be, JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield. Zeb returned to WWE in 2013 to manage Jack Swagger as he was gearing up for a big run at WrestleMania 29 in a championship match against Alberto Del Rio. Zeb was a self-proclaimed great American hero who was anti-immigration. The duo got hot immediately. It got some mainstream publicity. But Swagger was arrested less than 2 weeks after Zeb's return, picked up for driving under the influence and possession of marijuana. Colter would also begin managing Cesaro in the summer of 2013 for nearly a year, before Cesaro went on to become a member of Paul Heyman's stable. Zeb was a unit with Zack Swagger through their feud with Rusev and Lana at SummerSlam 2014. That saw Colter be put on the shelf for over a year, until he returned in Hell in a Cell last year, managing who? Alberto Del Rio, and that only proved that Paul Bearer could manage the dead. No matter how good Zeb Colter, Dutch Mantel is, no one can bring Alberto Del Rio to life short of a Ricardo Rodriguez ring introduction, and even then, it's iffy. Best wishes to Zeb going forward in and out of professional wrestling. I'd love to see this gentleman here in the Millennium Wrestling Federation filled with knowledge. Again, one hell of a wrestling career beyond being Zeb Colter. 35-year-old Wade Barrett officially ended his relationship with WWE in a surprise to no one. News had broken months ago that Barrett did not want to re-sign with WWE when his contract expired in a few weeks in June to take some time away from the king of sports. Barrett was the winner of the first season of the WWE NXT quasi-reality show on the Sci-Fi Network that wound up replacing ECW. That original grouping became the Nexus faction and created a hell of a buzz for WWE for a few weeks in June of 2010 when Daniel Bryan was fired as part of the group's debut. Barrett was pushed hard as a true main eventer for the first 6 months or so until he eventually fell into a creative abyss. He led the faction The Core after Nexus and another faction that went nowhere, and for years it was part of pushes that would start, that would stop. He was injured, it seemed like an awful lot. But to his credit, Wade Barrett was always far more over than justified by the way he was pushed on television. His Bad News Barrett character was really popular when he would come up and down on the podium, but his most recent offerings as King Barrett and then as a member of the League of Nations were both dead on arrival. Great physical and verbal presence. If you were going to manufacture that type of sly, slithering wrestling heel, I mean, Barrett could fit right into it. And hopefully we haven't seen the end of him. A fresh coat of paint will certainly do Barrett good in the long run. A lot of diehard fans upset that Damian Sandow was on the list. A little over a year ago, he was part of the popular pairing with The Miz as his quote-unquote stunt double. It was some fun in moderation, but But like a lot of things on broadcasts, sports entertainment writers don't get is how fans like to digest a character like Mizdow. And that is in moderation, not shoved down your throat twice a week, overdoing the fun of the character to the point you don't care about seeing it anymore. Sandow became a joke as Macho Mandow. Regardless of what you thought about the character, he gave it his all. He tried to make Macho Mandow his own, and what more could you really ask? His Halloween get-up tag team, where Curtis Axel was the Hulk Hogan of the duo, was one of the worst that WWE presented in years, in my personal opinion. But ultimately, the team was sent to gimmick heaven because of the Hulkster's racially insensitive comments coming to light last summer. As you probably know, Axel became a social outcast, and Sandow wound up getting his release papers. He was another guy that was far more over than he had any right to be given the platform WWE gave him more often than not, when he wasn't utilized all that well, but a heck of a hand that I think could morph onto any roster successfully. Santino Marella was another victim. He debuted at WWE television in the spring of 2007 in Italy, I believe, almost a modern-day Bruno Sammartino, defeating the Monster Umaga for the WWE Intercontinental Championship as a plant in the crowd. The serious Santino wasn't much of a hit, but once his fun side started to come out, it was comedy gold, interacting with both WWE stars and a variety of celebrities that were brought in from the outside. Santino had a very serious neck injury and needed surgery, which effectively ended any kind of full-time wrestling career for him. He has a very successful training facility up in Toronto. As Marella is not just skilled in pro wrestling, but also the mixed martial arts. Great personality. Again, I would not be shocked to see Santino entertaining you in some way, shape, or form before it's all said and done. Hornswoggle, released right around the time he made his debut 10 years ago as Finley's manager, and then later his son, Hornswoggle. At first he was a dirty midget that hid under rings, and then he went on to become a sidekick for DX, even being known as Vince McMahon's bastard son for a short period of time in 2007 before JBL outed him in Finley before WrestleMania 24. In recent years, Hornswoggle was part of the three-man band faction in their feud with Los Matadores and El Torito, culminating with a We LC match at Payback 2014. If you were a fan of children's wrestling, comedy wrestling, this was a fun spectacle. I mean, for diehard fans, maybe not so much, but, you know, that's the great thing about pro wrestling. It should be a buffet. Hornswoggle has been MIA since he failed his WWE wellness test last September, and wouldn't you know it, his partner in crime in the midget division, El Torito, was also released, ending a near 3-year stint for him in WWE. Torito spent his time exclusively managing Los Matadores. He was seen last summer when the Dudleys put him through a table as the Matadores were sent off to be repackaged, as you're seeing each week on Raw and SmackDown right now, with their love of Puerto Rico. With only 2 midgets in the company, there wasn't much for one to do without the other once the feud ran its course. Alex Riley departs WWE days before a pre-taped feature match on WWE NXT against Shinsuke Nakamura. Riley might be best remembered for being in The Miz's corner during the main event of WrestleMania 27 in Atlanta against John Cena, believe it or not. Riley was the winner of the second season of the WWE NXT reality show on Sci-Fi before NXT actually became a wrestling promotion, as you see now each week on WWE Network. His career continued to go downhill once he split from The Miz in the summer of 2011. Riley had been out of action, injured, and apparently didn't open too many eyes when his match with Nakamura was taped. Finally, former Total Diva Cameron was released, to the shock of no one that actually remembered she was still under contract. And a factoid I didn't realize, Cameron was actually the only participant of the 2011 Tough Enough season that was hosted by Stone Cold Steve Austin to make it onto WWE television, and that included the winner. That says about everything you need to know right there. Cameron and Naomi were the dancing Funkadactyls for Brodus Clay and later Tenzai. With WWE's focus more towards quote-unquote women's wrestling as opposed to diva-style wrestling, her spot was certainly expendable. I couldn't remember the last time she was on WWE television contributing, even if you offered me a nice fine meal on the house. Certainly wish all of these folks a tremendous amount of success and happiness both in and out of wrestling. I would certainly love to know your thoughts on any and all of the individuals on this list. Fans, check out the MWF store. We have some awesome deals for you, and every purchase helps us continue to produce more live wrestling events and free video content for your wrestling enjoyment. If you missed WrestleMania, the WWE Hall of Fame, or NXT TakeOver, click the link below and get 1 month of WWE Network absolutely free. Please use our link, as WWE helps us out a little for sending great wrestling fans their way. WWE Payback comes your way live Sunday night, May the 1st, from the Wild Allstate Arena in Chicago, Illinois. The price is right to watch it live, along with network-exclusive programming. Thousands of hours of content available on demand, and experiencing everything from WrestleMania week with the click of a button. Do your shopping with Amazon.com and WWEshop.com using our links below, and help support indie wrestling. No matter what you buy on either website, including non-wrestling merchandise on Amazon, we got to thank you from our online partners. Doesn't cost you one extra penny. Fans, the Millennium Wrestling Federation's 15th anniversary celebration is upon us this summer. What we've been able to produce and experience in a decade and a half is amazing, and we're going to keep building more and more great content for your enjoyment anywhere on this planet. Continue to check out the BostonWrestling.com super site. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at MWF2001. And subscribe to our YouTube channel with more than 900 free videos. Until we speak again, folks, you and yours, be well.